Hello, welcome to my channel once again. In the last video, we touched on topics and how instead of using the workflow, the logic for queues, you can also make use of topics as part of your service bus. And we saw that you can add subscriptions, you can create subscriptions to your topics. And we also mentioned that when you have a subscription in a topic and you send a message to that topic, all the subscriptions will be able to receive that message. And I also mentioned that you can use the analogy of a mailing list. As a user, you can subscribe to the mailing list of an organization, and anytime they send an email or any message, you will also receive it. And it's not just you, every other person that is subscribed to that organization will get that mail as well. So in this video, we want to see how we can make use of filters when working with topics and subscription. So um when you are subscribed to a particular mailing list, any any mail that is sent will get to you. However, there's a way you can add a filter that would add some kind of constraint to determine the type of messages that you want to get to you. So even though the company is sending certain messages out to everyone that is part of their subscription, you can decide that some category of messages I do not want to receive and things like that. So that is what this filters is all about. And in service bus, there are three categories of filters. There are three major categories. We have the Boolean, we have correlation, and SQL. So I'll just demonstrate very quickly. So let me just go to my service bus. I'll just do a quick demonstration. So I'm opening that's my namespace that I just opened. So usually if we wanted to work with queues, I would have come over here and clicked here, but we are working with topics now. So this is what I'll click on. So I want to create a new topic. So let me create one. You can see I already have one created already. So let me call this. Okay, let me use the existing topic because of our time. Let me use it. But it's the subscription that I will create a new subscription. So let me use this topic one. Yeah, so we are in our topic now. So I want to see the existing subscription. So I come over here, click. So I'll be creating a new subscription. So I'm creating a new subscription now. Let me call this um sub one, or let me call it sub two since we already have one. Auto delete after just a single day and create. So I'm creating a subscription now. I said you create your namespace, and inside your namespace, you create either your queues or your topics. Then in this our case, we've created a topic. Then inside our topic, you create your subscriptions. So let's go into the subscription, sub 2, and you can see that there are no messages. There are no active messages over here. Under message count, active 0. Okay, so what we are going to do now is, if I should scroll down, you'll see the option to add a filter. And this is the default filter that is created. If I should click on it, you'll see that over here you have 1 is equal to 1, which means that this filter will always be valid because 1 will always be 1. So this is a type of Boolean filter, even though it's tagged as an SQL filter, but it's really Boolean because it's true or false. That's basically what it's doing. 1 will always be equal to 1. So all messages will pass through it. So this constraint is not limiting any kind of message, because all messages will be valid. 1 will be equal to 1. However, we are going to do something. So let me take this one out and let me create a new filter. So let me delete this first, just to be sure. But if I had added a new one that overrides it, it will no longer be there. But let me create a new one. Let me call this bold. Let me call this bold filter, or let me call it first filter. Let me call it first filter, and we have the SQL filter selected, but it's a Boolean filter I want to be selected. But this time around, I'll say 1 is equal to 0. So this is the test that is happening here. And you know that 1 will never be equal to 0. So what this is essentially saying is that no message should come into this subscription, because 1 will forever not be equal to 0 in this context. And so think about the mailing list again. So when the companies send out an email, so it needs to pass through this constraint, which is saying it should only accept the message if 1 is equal to 0. And since 1 will never be equal to 0, then the message will not be sent to this subscription. So we've added that filter now. So now let's go to our topic. I'm in my topic now. Let's go to Service Bus Explorer. So what I'll be doing now is I want to send a message, and we'll see if that message will get to that particular topic, to the subscription where I added the constraint. But before I even do that, let's look at our second subscription as an example. So let's just take note of, look at the message count. This was the subscription that I created now, and the message count is 0, active message is 0, blah blah blah. But for the initial one, the sub 1, you can see is 1. We have 1 message there. So before we actually create, so just take note of it. If this would increase, I'm not sure the filter that is in sub 1, but I'm sure of sub 2 that 1 being equal to 0 will not allow the message to be sent here. So let's go back. Let's go back to our Service Bus Explorer. Now let's send message. We're going to send a message now. We'll see if that message will be reflected. So I'm sending a message now. So let's send a plain message. Let's say this will not get to sub 2. Okay, so that's fine. So I would send this. We are sending this message now to all the subscriptions. Yeah. So now let's go over to our subscriptions again. And you can see the message count for sub 1, it has increased from 1 to 2, while for sub 2, the message count is still 0. And why is the message count still 0? It's because 1 is not equal to 0. So now, just to prove that this is actually the constraint, so if I should go back here and I scroll down and I come over here, let me delete this filter. I can either delete it or I just add a new one. So let me delete it first. Then let me add a new one, and let me call this second filter. And let's say this 1 is equal to 1, which means 1 will always be equal to 1. So this would accept all messages. You know, we are looking at Boolean filter now. Yeah. So we have this now. So this has been added. So if I should go back to my topic and I send another message and I go to my service bus explorer and I click to send a message. And I call this message will get to sub 2, will get to all the subs, including sub 2. Okay, so I send this message. Yeah, so now let's go back to our subscription. So our first sub should be on 3, and our second sub should have 1 message reflected. Yeah, so you can see 3 message count, 1 active messages, 3, 1. And if I should go to it, you can also see the message that we have there. So that is just a simple illustration on how you can work with the Boolean filter. So very quickly, let me just show us correlation and SQL filter. As I said, over here, our Boolean filter is actually we are using the SQL filter option, just that in this case we are adding Boolean comparison, Boolean logic to it. So what I'll do now is I want to create a new filter. Let's call this third filter. Okay, so now let me add the usual SQL filter now. So you know that in our SQL filters, in our when it comes to our messages, when it comes to working with our queues and working with messages in general. In one of our previous video, I told you about system-defined properties as well as user-defined properties. So we can run some commands around such properties and we can set a filter based on that. However, if you are working with system-defined property, it's important that you make use of SYS, you precede it with SYS that then you can now use any of the system defined properties. I think message ID is one of those. So you can put message ID is equal to so let's say 4. So the only issue now is that because I am not doing this programmatically, I cannot specify the system defined properties from the Azure portal because you know it's usually auto-generated. But something like this would only allow a message that has this message ID. So this is an example of an SQL filter that we can use. Yeah, so I hope that is clear. So in terms of our and this 4 can be anything. So it can be the alphanumeric properties that is usually created or anything. And it does not have to be message ID. It can be the message value or the time, the creation time and things of sorts. Just get the system defined properties, and there are so many system defined properties. So if I should go over to, just so we can see it, um so we can see some of the popular system defined properties, and you can create yours too as well. So if I should pick from start and I select this under our message properties, you see broker properties here. And the message ID I was talking about, you can see it here, message ID. And you can use any of all these other properties, any of all these other properties as well. Then if you are creating some user-defined properties, custom properties, they are going to appear here. So that's just the logic, very straightforward. But one other thing I want us to do is, let's quickly look at our correlation filter. So what I would do now is I would click on add a filter. Let me call this formatting filter. Let me just call this formatting filter. Then I'll change the filter type from SQL filter to correlation filter. And correlation filter, this is how it works. So I can select some kind of key value here. So for example, I can specify that you can see there's so many values that we have here. I can choose that. You can see we still have our message ID over here as well. So if you want to use this as if you prefer to use this drop down correlation, you can still arrive at the same goal, the same endpoints from using the SQL filter. But let's take a look at this. Let's say content type, application / JSON. So what we are basically saying is that we only want to accept messages that their content type is of JSON for this subscription too. That's basically what we are saying here. And you can see we have system properties here, and it's differentiated from custom properties. So application / JSON. So let me add this. Save changes, content type application / JSON. If you are not sure what a valid value will be, as I said earlier on, just come over to here. You just need to come over here. Yeah, pick from start and click on it, and you see that over here our content type, where is it? Okay, well, we can see that from, let's say we want to send a message. Let's say we want to send a message. You can see our content type here. And you can see the application / JSON here as the content type. Okay. So we have that. So what I will do now is, before we end it, I'll just send a message to the topic. First off, I would send the so let's come over to Service Bus Explorer. So I'll be sending 2 messages. Yeah, so this one, okay, let me change this over to, okay, let me send the first one by using a plain value, and I'll say frankly, let me say channel name. Okay, let me put it in quotes. Frankly, even though it is text slash plain, but let me do this. Just take note of this. Then I send. Okay, so now I'll send another one. I'll send another message. Yeah, so now let me send another message. This time around, I'll change this to application/JSON, and I would use this channel name frankly yeah, so this is JSON, right? Okay, so now let's send this. You can see that this one, the second one, we have quotes. Okay, so we've added those two types. One of them is of JSON type, the other one is not of JSON type. That is called correlation filters now. Okay, so let's go to our subscription. You can see 5.2. Wow. So now recall that it's the second subscription that we had the filter, the correlation filter. So I'll click on this, and you'll see that the one that we get here. So let's go to our service bus explorer. Let's see the content of the two messages. Pick from start. Yeah, so you can see that for this our second message, you can see that this gets here. You can see we have channel name frankly in quotes application/JSON. So this is the JSON form. Now let's go to the first one and just take note of this. Let's go back to this and subscription one. And if I should go to my service bus explorer, yeah, so let's pick from start, and you see that both messages got here. So the one of that was plain, as well as the other one that is of JSON type, even though they look alike. So that's basically how you work with it, with the three categories of filters when it comes to your topics in service bus. So if you find this video helpful, don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.